talked to you since the Jameson news came out last week. Can you kind of walk us through when he got hurt and the process to have the surgery?
Yeah. Gosh, if I know my timetable, it wasn't like one of those where it was just like, bam, he got hurt. You know, it was kind of a progressive thing. I know there was a play in practice where he just kind of tweaked it. It just didn't feel right. And so for me and for him, I think, you always want to be confident out there in your body. And so when we did our homework and realized that, the severity was pretty minimum as far as, surgeries and injuries go, it just kind of made sense to do it now and get it out the way. And I know he feels pretty good about it. And so we'll be excited to welcome him back sooner than later, hopefully.
You're not a doctor, obviously, but, have you had, experience with these type of injuries? Kind of what do you feel like the opener is probably not a safe bet for him?
Yeah, I mean, that would probably be a question not for me, just 'cause I don't want to give wrong information. So much is going to depend just on like how it heals. We're obviously going to do everything we can to protect all of our guys and not get them out there when they're not ready. But thankfully, and I know he's excited about it, it is a low-level surgery. So I think legitimately it could be a week-to-week thing. Realistically, do I think he's going to be back for game one? Probably not. And then you just assess it after that, kind of how he heals, and hopefully he's a quick healer.
How do you manage the expectations of the season and for him and wanting to get back maybe quicker than he should? Tell him like, hey, take a couple extra weeks. We want you for the long haul, not short.
Yeah, I think it's exactly that. I think it's long term. We don't ever want to jeopardize a player's career or season or even our team for a short term goal. So a game or two here or there versus having to deal with something for the rest of the year if he didn't have it, to me just made no sense. And so for him, he's a smart dude, and I just rely on him to tell me how his body feels on the recovery process on the way back. And our trainers and doctors do a really good job. And so it's just day to day having that communication. And when everybody feels like he's good to go, we'll roll him out there, and I know he'll be ready to go.
And if he does miss that first game, who are you looking to step up and fill that void early on?
It's a great question. That's why this exhibition game will be good, because I think it is going to give a lot of guys experience, which is what we needed. There's an obviously gap. We've got a bunch of freshmen and younger players, including Trayton, and then you've got the older team. And so if we can bridge that gap, will really help our season and our team. And so, if we can use this exhibition game to get those guys, especially the freshmen, kind of that live action. And, I hope there's good and bad with that. I really do. Because we're going to need that down the line and get those guys experience. And so as much as you don't want to have guys out, I think it also is really good for our younger guys to get minutes and meaningful minutes, to whether that's down the stretch or late game, to be in situations, to do a scouting report, all that stuff that we do detail wise as far as preparing and then in the game. You can't put a price tag on that. And so to answer your point, a lot of it will depend on how guys play and how they react and who we got, and we'll cross that bridge come Monday.
When you look at what Dawson brings to the team, he's obviously that versatile piece he can move around. I mean, at 6'11", can he really? I mean, is he even capable of playing the 3? I mean, obviously he's got size, so you can play him at the 5. I mean, where do you see like his range?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing for us is we don't we don't really have numbers, quote unquote. We have kind of guards and bigs. So there'll be times when he'll play on the perimeter. There'll be times, obviously, when he's inside. Matchups will dictate that and where we think we maybe have an advantage. The best part about that kid is he doesn't care. He doesn't get caught up in any of that, and he's been like that from day one. He just wants to be out there playing with his teammates and playing in Williams Arena and playing in front of the fans and being successful. And his versatility will allow him to do a lot of things, but I think the best thing he's done is his attitude has been phenomenal, unbelievable, and his work ethic, and that has really set the tone, again, for these young guys to see every single day, how he brings it and does it in an unselfish way. That's been huge.
How's he as a shooter? I know that's something that Jameson brings to the table. Obviously, he lost a lot with the seniors that graduated.
No, Dustin's good. That's part of the reasons why, it is an advantage to play him inside out. Again, I told him I don't want you to fall in love with it because he's so good inside. And I told him I think that's an underrated characteristic of your game is that you can score with your back to the basket. He's got a great first step so he can face up and drive, which I think is very underrated. He can get to the free throw line a ton. And so although, he's skilled enough to make threes and there'll be a time and a place for that, he can score at all three levels. So don't ignore the other two that you're really good at. And he's done that. And again, I couldn't be more pleased with kind of where his game is at and where his mentality is at than I am right now.
He shared at media today that he's grateful for every opportunity, just given the fact of what his family went through over the last year. Have you seen that gratitude in the way that he
Yeah.
comes?
Oh, 100%. Guy doesn't take a drill off. I'm always the one that, either tells him he's got to, let the young guys get a rep in, or, he's asking for double lifts or more workouts, or, we had to tone him down from extra shooting sometimes. He's got one speed, and it's 100 miles an hour. So you definitely can feel his sense of urgency and appreciation. It's not just lip service, because he brings it every day. I think if you asked our guys who our most consistent worker is at a high level, and we've got a couple of them, he's definitely one of them, and it's not close. And so, that's only going to help him and help us. But that part's been phenomenal. It's almost like he's been possessed in a good way. So you can tell, and you hate that sometimes things have to be taken away for people to realize that. But I think sometimes that can be human nature a little bit. And he values every time he's on that court.
Ben, I know it's early in the season, but is it the element of the unknown with your team right now? Is that there, and can that be a good thing in a way right now?
Yeah, no, it's definitely there. I think when you have 6 guys that haven't played a lot and 5 of them being freshmen, it's 100% there. But that's to be expected. And I told these guys that I want that. I want adversity to hit. I'd rather have it hit now in a game situation than us not have anything and we don't hit it till later on in the year when games matter, So we're going to use this as a great dress rehearsal. And when there's a scoreboard, you're trying to win. And there's stuff on the line. So I want them to feel that pressure a little bit of playing in front of fans and the expectation. And I want them to go through it because I think they don't know until they hit it. And that's good and bad. And so I'm looking forward to that a lot. I think when you have, young talent that you're excited about, you want to put them in every situation. And as coaches, we want it now. Right? And you don't want to have the process of it, but I want them to get hit with adversity. I want them to experience, success, and I want it all now. So I'm hopefully tomorrow we get a taste of all the above.
Couple more for Coach.
Do you feel like, is there a freshman that, I know physically Pharrell's already there, even further than some of your seniors, but is there a freshman that's probably further along, like processing things than the other? I know obviously Braden is a guy who won a lot in high school, and he's familiar with Minnesota Gopher basketball. I mean, he's a shooter, plays the point guard and the shooting guard role. I mean, is he a guy that maybe is further along a little bit?
Yeah, I would say, for our team, we're fortunate, and we emphasize this in recruiting where, where a kid come from, it does matter a little bit. If they've been coached, if they come from a program where they've won, where there's expectation, because that does carry over. And I think Braden's a great case of that. All of our freshmen, for the most part, have been pretty consistent with just making the step and the big jump from high school to Power 5 basketball. And I think Braden, playing for James Ware, who was a college player, who worked at the college level, he was fortunate because he's in practice every day, and James coached him like a college coach would, and had expectations. And I think it was great that they won the state championship, and he was player of the year. I think all of that builds and breeds confidence, and that carries over. So he's carried himself a different type of way. Pharrell playing for Mitch Onstead in AAU is the same thing. Mitch played at high-level basketball. So he trains, and his expectation for his AAU team and program are that of kind of what a college coach would think to his team. And so, you can't put a price tag on that because there's a lot of unknowns when you get a freshman, and that's one of them is, all right, are they even going to know how to conduct themselves, whether it's an individual workout, weight session, practice, and then you stack weeks on top of weeks of that. How do they respond? And those guys have flourished as well as our other freshmen. And that's what's got me excited is that I think we'll be a team. I don't know how it's going to look early because there is so many unknowns, and we're going to play against teams that got experience. But I know with these guys, when you have young talent that's willing workers over time, if they're detail-oriented, they will get better. And we need to be a team, and our goal needs to be, how we look in November and December is different than how we look in January and February.
Have you seen from Trayton in terms of progress from where he was maybe now as a freshman to a second-year guy?
Confidence and physicality, I think, without a doubt. And again, for a guy that played sparingly, those minutes still didn't matter because they were Big Ten minutes. And for the most part, when you look at the bulk of his playing time, and to just even get that little bit of experience for him has built confidence because he knows what it is. And he knows there's no anxiety. He knows the expectations of what a game feels like and how hard you have to play to win a game. That stuff matters. And then you just talk about embracing physicality. He just had to get older. I don't know how many people fully realize, when he came here physically, he wasn't ready. And that's not his fault. I mean, he just built different, and it takes time. But the year he had to get older, to gain weight, to get stronger in the weight room, to be able to withstand contact, that again is a confidence booster. And so now, it's night and day with how he's acting and functioning on the practice court. And I got a ton of confidence in him. And now it's just like, can we be greedy and see where you can take it? And I told our freshmen, they can't be like freshmen. They got to be almost like sophomore, juniors. Well, Trayton, you can't be a sophomore. You got to be a junior or a senior. And if we can get competitive enough to think that way, then, again, I think individually and team-wise, we can make a jump.
You think last year his head spinning a little as a freshman, just learning what you wanted, is he now to the point where he can pass along what you expect in terms of how to play?
Yeah, for sure. He knows just being around the older guys last year, how to lead, if that makes sense. And he knows being around me and being around our program, just how we function on the day-to-day and the standard and expectation. So now he can be vocal because he has the answers. Doesn't mean he's perfect, but at least he can vocalize to the young guys like, no, that's not going to work, or here's why you need to do A, B, C, and D, or here's why coach is upset, or here's why that was a great play. Because experience is the greatest teacher. And so, again, we need more of that, and that's why we need the young guys to learn and to process the mental piece as much or not more than the physical piece. If they can mentally get caught up to speed and act older and be those mature players, man, there's so much value in that.
Ben, how do you look at the chemistry of the team with so many new faces? I know you guys do a lot of stuff off-season wise to get them to bond. How do you look at chemistry going into the first games?
I think it's really good. I think, again, it goes back to like last year when you're building a team, it can't just be about collecting talent. It has to be about collecting the right talent that understands what we're about, what our program stands for, what the Big Ten stands for, style of play, like all of that is recruiting. And I think when you do that and you get the right people and the people that fit the locker room, that's when you get chemistry. That's when you get, everybody says culture, right? You recruit your culture and you build it and you work on it every single day, but it starts in the recruiting process. You got to recruit kids that fit who you are as a head coach or you are as a staff and fit your locker room so that when you have new pieces come in, they're able to coincide because they're like-minded or they're about the right stuff or about the same stuff and they're winners and competitive and care about the dude next to them and hang out together. To me, that as important, if not important, as just the talent at this level. Like talent is the baseline. You got to have that other stuff just as much.
All right. Thanks, Coach.